Hi, I'm Michelle, and welcome to the Grateful Podcast, a place where we contemplate how we can eat, live, and lead each day to build a more sustainable world. If you've been listening to any of the other episodes of the Grateful Podcast, you know that I like to have inspiring guests on, changemakers who are trying to build more sustainable food systems and communities and lives. And each of these guests, I try and learn more about the challenges that they're tackling, the way they are going about tackling them. But what I really like to learn from them is their personal story, how they came to step into creating change in the way that they are, how they found the courage that they need, how they work out how to juggle having an impact with also living a life that is personally fulfilling and personally sustainable. These are all themes that I'm really interested in and that I think are really fundamental to us working out how we actually create change in the world. And at The Grateful, I actually offer a program called Be the Change. And this is a 4-month leadership and group coaching program for aspiring female leaders who want to work out what's their role in building a more sustainable world and how can they step into it, but also want to learn how to do that in a way that is fulfilling and healthy and joyful for themselves. And so in this 4-month program, we go on a journey together through a number of different modules that look at the foundations of sustainable change, how we take care of ourselves so that we can show up and serve from a foundation that is nourished and resilient. We look at the role of communication and how we build community to bring about the change that we want to see. And we look at callings and courage. So how can we find that place where our unique set of skills and interests and strength interfaced with a challenge that is there in the world? And how can we find the courage to step into that in the way we know we are able to? And applications have just opened for the next round of the Be the Change program. So I thought this would be a perfect time to actually let you hear from participants themselves how the experience was. So if you're contemplating joining the next round of the program, rather than just hearing from me why I love running this program, why I think it's so important, I thought it would be really nice if you could hear firsthand from participants who have gone through the journey themselves, how the experience was, what they've learned from it, how the interaction with the other participants was, and anything that they found surprising or interesting. So on today's show, you're going to hear from Viola, Maya, Alessa, and Ellen from Switzerland, Kenza from Morocco, Mafrida from Zimbabwe, Jess from the United Kingdom, Emily from Brazil, and Taylor, Ariane, and Grace from the United States. They were all participants in the Be the Change program that took place at the end of 2020, and they're going to share how that experience was for them.
My name is Viola. I'm from Switzerland. I studied agricultural sciences for my undergrad and master's, and I'm now an environmental consultant with South Pole.
I'd love to learn a little bit more about what led you to join the Be the Change program.
So when you posted this, I felt that this was what I could use. I was at the time looking for a job. I was trying to move into sustainability consulting. And it was a bit of a career change, this combination of needing support in all corners, not just for doing something about climate change, for example, but also finding a meaningful job, building a meaningful career, and kind of developing my own skills. And I guess this process of looking for a job is always confronts you a lot with what are your skills? What do you want? Where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself in 5 years, essentially, this whole conversation. So this just fits so well to what I was going through. And at the same time, I spent 5 months in Malaysia last winter in Sabah. And before that, I felt like I was much more active. I was quite activist. I founded a little NGO with a couple of friends. And I was really feeling the momentum of doing something. But then in Malaysia, I was just overwhelmed with the challenges and just seeing that there's so little climate awareness, understandably so. I mean, there are really other very, very urgent issues just on a daily basis that you want to deal with first. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of gave up on being able to do something, it felt like I just needed to recalibrate. After being in Malaysia, I had to really question my own my own arguments. And in all of this, the program just really fits so well.
Somebody who's thinking about joining this program, what would you say to them?
I think anyone who's trying to do something about climate change issues, or particularly with food, is faced with just this vastness of challenges, big and small. I mean, you can pick your fight, but you also can't really. It's just overwhelming. And like, you have to be kind of crazy to think you don't need support for this fight and to build solutions. So I'm sure with everybody I talk to, we have this double challenge of having to be functional humans and doing our best work and being like building our careers and just doing what everybody else does. But at the same time, we're also really struggling with the kind of challenge that we picked. And I think this is really a double burden in a way. And having other people in similar jobs or similar careers help you, but also be honest about their struggles is something that I'm sure everyone could use.
Yeah, I like the way you described that, a double burden. It's true. It is. It will weigh you down if one's not given some tools to support. Yeah.
And I mean, there are many other careers that are like that. I mean, if you're a doctor, it's a bit similar, I guess. I mean, everything becomes the most important thing of your life once you focus on it. But I do really think we tend to go towards this narrative of, we have to save the world, but we also have to be great career people. So it's just a crazy combination.
And so, having been a part of this 4-month journey, in the end, what would you say has been the most significant change that you've experienced?
So I think the most significant change for me is that I frequently throughout the day noticed myself just pausing and questioning my reaction to something and being like, okay, is this just my autopilot, or is this something that I can navigate actively? And that is, for me, that feels like a fundamental change. And so I would say it is the realization that I don't have to just follow my autopilot on everything, but that I can actually make a choice. And that might not sound like much, but it just translates into everything. It can be small things, but it can also help me with making decisions and how I interact with people. So also how I listen to people, how I listen to myself, and how I take care of myself, and how I have a bit more curiosity for the world again. And that feels really, really great. It's in a way very liberating, and also just, it feels like a bit of a new chapter now. It's actually quite profound. What I find that is super valuable about the exchange that we've had and this kind of space we've created is the acceptance that you can be human. You can be a person in this. You can have doubts and you can have struggles, and it's actually, those are the parts that they're just there, and it is, lying to yourself won't make them go away and won't help you. And rediscovering the value of being a person in this.
So, what's been your favorite or even most surprising part of the program?
My favorite and also really surprising part is that we've cultivated this space, this really safe space, and on Zoom, of all things. I always look forward to the meetings, and I feel completely different throughout and after them than I did before. Sometimes I'm so drained, and then I'm full of energy and really motivated and just inspired again. It's what we do and the people that are in the program, but also the culture that is cultivated by, for example, checking in together, and then the things we talk about. It's really the combination. And every week I feel we are getting closer to each other, and I feel very connected to the community. And it's just so nice to know that you start from a similar point. And I think this is a huge achievement. Also, this is something we've created together, and this is something that you definitely led so well, but also has to do with people who are in the program. It's just a really, really good combination. I find it surprising and extremely beautiful that this is possible.
My name is Maya Wiesner. I'm a project manager for a new study program that's being created at the moment at the ZHAW, where we focus on combining the agro-food area with entrepreneurship and sustainability regeneration. And the study program has a bit of a special educational approach to it as well that also taps into this behavioral change aspect and personal resilience aspect.
What led you to join the Be the Change program?
So it's actually really funny. I actually got it in a text message from a friend who said, I think her words were like, Maya, this sounds exactly like all the stuff you keep talking to me about. Wouldn't this be interesting for you? It's like, I checked it out immediately on the homepage. And I just remember like skimming it and being like, oh my God, I have to join. This sounds amazing. And like dropping everything to fill out the application and really, with heart racing until you had actually then said, okay, you can join. And I think it was just like that everything spoke to me, the field of food, the area of sustainable leadership, but also this personal aspect and behavioral change aspect that I'm interested in from various different points, like from work, but also from my private life. And it was just, the whole package was like speaking to me immediately.
I'm interested to know, what's the most significant change you have experienced as a result of being in this program?
I think I've always admired people who are optimistic, because I think I've always thought of myself as being a pessimist or a realist in the very least. And I've become optimistic. It's something I've wanted to be for a long time. I've never been too worried about being able to deal with situations, but they've always frightened me. Like I've always been a bit worried that I couldn't deal with difficult situations. And kind of now I feel like I have that certainty. I've learned tools, I have methods, and I know I can deal with anything more or less. It's just, it's just a question of then picking the right tools or the right moment or reflecting on something that went wrong. But I'm not worried anymore. And that makes me optimistic. I've realized that people have picked up on it. So I had a situation with my boss. At the moment, it's super hectic. A lot of situations are coming that we didn't foresee. A lot more work than we thought that we would have. A lot of situations that lead to overwhelm and stress, but I just take it with a bit of a pinch of salt and try to make it still a very comfortable situation. And at the end of the conversation, I was like, but I have to tell you, I don't know how you do it, but even in the deepest, like worst situations, you still manage to laugh. And I think that's I like that. That's what people see in me now.
And so how do you think this might support you to engage with change or lead change in the future?
So I think one of the reasons I also really like the program is because I wanted to understand a bit better this aspect of change. So I mentioned in the beginning, I'm very interested in behavioral change, the whole psychology behind it, and how it applies to myself, but also how I can bring it into the world for other people. So it's not only being able to use those tools on my own life, but also actually being able to communicate it to others to understand what's going on with them and maybe helping them, supporting them, whether it's for personal change or in the more broader field of sustainability in the agro-food business. I think that, correlates very strongly. And for me, this has kind of given me the confidence to also speak about it, to be able to communicate it with other people, being able to take their point of view without judging it, but also trying to maybe communicate it in a way that they understand me. And definitely, I think also being hopeful, having that hope that it can actually happen, because I understand it better and I've learned about it and I've been able to apply it to myself, and therefore also kind of like, if I can do it, there's no limitations to who else can do it. It just, maybe there's different approaches that are needed. And I think that's just like the beginning of the whole journey for me. Basically it's just a set of life skills, right, that I haven't learned at school or in my study programs. I think actually that was one of the things I've never fully understood. It's like, it's in this program, it never seemed to be anything that we shouldn't know. It was never, of course it went way deeper than anything I'd ever had or studied or learned or anything, but it seemed to be like basic life skills, not some kind of rocket science. It was like, exactly. How did it happen that I'm like turning 30 and now I'm discovering this? But how much nicer would it be if this would be incorporated in in the way of life that we have. So in our schools and educational systems, at work, rather than having to turn 30 and, kind of like being able to realize this for the first moment.
Right. So what would you say to someone who's contemplating joining this program?
I think I'd try to let them know that the program is very personalizable. It's not a one-size-fits-all program, right? You go through it with your own eyes, and then you get the input from other people, and you pick out what's most necessary for you. And for me, the experience was at the beginning, I think I started into the program more from the side that, this is very interesting, and I have looked into aspects of this before, so maybe more of a I want to understand it approach, rather than being in a situation where I felt I need a lot of help for my personal life. And throughout the program, I just realized how much it did help in my personal life. And at the moment at work, I'm at a point where I know that a couple years back, or even probably a couple months back, this might have caused complete breakdown in me. I can reflect on that now a bit with an outsider perspective. I can deal with it better, and I can really apply what we learned. So I think it's like, whether you're coming into this program because you're interested or because you're really at a point where you need support and help, it doesn't really matter. As I said, it's life skills for everybody. And for me, there's no question that it could ever not be helpful for anybody, even at any different level. It's even if you're coming in with zero knowledge or access to a program like this, or you've run through several different programs like it, I think you'll still be able to pick out a lot of valuable methods and content and experience. Yeah.
And what surprised you in this program that you weren't expecting?
One point that really surprised me was the variety of topics that we covered. I did not see that coming. And I loved it so much. I think it was like an absolute variety of topics and methods and approaches, and in a combination that you wouldn't expect at all. And I think that makes it even more interesting, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was really surprising to me. The very personal approach, that you can really pick out what you need, but you're still interacting with other people, with the group. And it kind of feels like it's also personal, but everybody's dealing with the same thing. So I think that gives a very nice contrast. And I think I was super surprised by the importance of the group. Because most of us have done a study degree where we've had group work. It's not like, or work in teams at work and stuff like that. People are important, but I was really surprised by the impact the group had on the whole program. Yeah. And positively surprised. Definitely. There was no way I was going to miss one of the pod calls.
Fantastic. So tell me a little bit more about how that group interaction was for you.
They challenged me, right? From the minute we started, it felt very safe, which I thought was amazing, because it was a virtual group from the beginning, but it felt safe. And it was an honest interaction. And I think what you did at the beginning, like setting a couple of agreements with each other, how we want to deal with each other, was very valuable, because I think judging is something we do very unconsciously, very often. And it's something to do with ourselves, but we do it with others. And I thought that was a very good like starting point to be open, non-judgmental, and honest. And of course, they challenge you as well. You know, you if you didn't set time aside for the material, you couldn't really interact with the group, so you wouldn't benefit as much. So that kind of was like an incentive also to keep up the pace, basically. And I got to interact with all sorts of different people. I was really lucky with my buddy, who I message constantly. We always keep checking in with each other. That was really, really nice. Yeah, it was just very inspiring and enlightening and strengthening.
My name is Jess. I'm originally from the UK, but now I live in Switzerland, and I work for a food manufacturing company as a project manager. My real passion project is an internal organization in my company called Generation B. In this, we try to bring people in our company together to shape the company that we want to work for. So we work to really drive the topic of sustainability, particularly diversity and inclusion as well.
What motivated you to join the Be the Change program?
So I think I wrote in my application something very almost panicked and deep about how I really am enjoying what I'm doing, and I'm in a really happy place, but I just feel like I need that extra support and step to understand truly what I want to do, to have a positive impact on the world. And I've started to see in my career where I potentially could do that, but I've not found, or had not really found, my true calling, to put it very cheesily. So I was really excited to join the course because of the timing of it. I was just starting a new role. And yeah, to get that balance side of it. That's also why I really was interested in it. The balance of having an impact on the world, but also looking after yourself first. And I'd heard you speak as well, of course, Michelle. So when I saw that it was open, then I thought it would be a really great opportunity.
So far, what do you think the most significant change has been for you?
For me, I think the one answer that has to stand out, and the one really memorable part of the program that's changed like my whole perception, was when we were doing the hot seat part, and I had the conversation with you. There was just that moment you asked me something like, but when do you feel the most creative? Because we were talking about energy and sort of balance between looking after your body and looking after your mind. And it was like a light bulb, like, oh, when I'm running, like when I'm outside in the forest doing sport, or being in nature. And that for me was such a light bulb moment and a memorable moment, that I need to look after my mind and my body first. If I haven't sorted that out, it was like a really strong argument where everything sort of clicked into place. And now I remember that every time I am like getting caught up in my head or something. So that was right at the beginning. And I've taken a lot out of the storytelling module and many of the other parts. But that was like the real thing that I will remember probably forever. I can't believe that I didn't think of that before. But yeah, I guess it's that whole thing of sometimes you need to hear the same thing several times before you really listen to it, and you need to hear it in the right way.
I'm going through this program. What impact do you think it might have on how you engage with change or lead change in the future?
I think almost in the way I've started to answer this question, it's like that taking a breath before you run into something or panic about something or get caught up in something. I think that's so valuable in leadership, to be balanced and to sort of reflect on how your leadership is influencing other people. That sounds really simple and like the first principle of leadership, but I think this course has really broadened my mind as to the many different aspects and the many different themes that can play a part in your leadership. It's very easy to say, I need to make sure that I'm okay before I lead a team. But yeah, this course has sort of shown me many, many different things to think about. Like the thing that comes to mind is how you react to certain conflicting conversations. Sometimes it can be the thought or the motivation that you're putting onto that conversation, and how that can kind of influence what were you really trying to achieve with that conversation. That's, I think, a really great example of how your reaction and your way of leadership is affecting the conversations that you're having and the impression that you're having on other people. The first module was self-reflection, and I was like, yeah, got this. This is great. I was doing it and I was getting through it very promptly and really enjoying it. And the second module was about how your actions sort of influence other people. You had to sort of bring in this external view as well. And that was where I suddenly really struggled. And that was a big learning on the course. And I think something I really will take away and hopefully try and pass on to other people as well. I really didn't expect with it to connect so much with the other, like the community, the other people doing it. That's been one of the most special parts as well. And I hope to sort of continue staying in contact with them. And I've never even met them in real life, but in the virtual world, I feel like I know them really well. I've never really in my life been in such a tight-knit community of all women and all people who really want to learn, really want to grow, and really truly are trying to find something that they're passionate about and make it their job, really have an impact with it. And that's the thing that I've really loved, is how it sort of feels like we've become a very close family almost in what we've shared. And every sort of one-to-one conversation I've had with people in the call, sometimes it's the end of the day and you sort of think, oh, like this is a really deep topic. I don't know if I'm really going to get into it. And by the end of the conversation, you're so into it that you didn't even realize that 20 minutes has gone past. And I think that's the true sign of a real good friendship, exchange, communication, whatever you want to call it, is that time flies. And I've experienced that at every moment of this course, whenever we've had an interaction. And they're all doing such cool things, and they're also passionate about it, and they're also wise about talking about their own experiences, and they listen as well and genuinely care. So I think people could have come into this course really just with a personal view and wanting to just get something out of it for themselves, and I've not come across anybody who has done that. Everyone has also wanted to help everybody else learn, and that just makes it this community of psychological safety. That's been so great to experience.
My name is Emily. I'm from Brazil. I'm doing my PhD in sustainable agriculture or simulating.
What motivated you to join the Be the Change program?
I must say, actually, it was you, because I know your work. And I really, really always believed that you need to change things from the inside. And I knew, like, I could feel there is this potential to be reached. And there are so many things that I could do if I just believed a bit more myself.
And so we're coming towards the end, not quite finished yet. What would you say has been the most significant change for you so far?
I would say calm. It gave me this sense of time that is different. It passes different. It's like, I think I've learned to give myself more worth and my time more value and my feelings and so on.
And how do you think that might help you in the future to play a role in creating the change you want to see in the world?
I'm actually starting to feel things already now. I'm super surprised because I'm starting to apply, for example, the listening exercises. And I had a talk and I started to use also the way of communicating in the way of structuring the storytelling and so on. And the feedbacks were so crazy. Like, it's like, I'm like, yeah, but guys, I'm just in my head. It's just like, I'm using the stuff that I learned and it actually makes sense. It works. Look at this. Everybody was writing like, hey, nice presentation, or I really understood this. So I think it really helps to make your ideas more clear and to be more efficient in the way that you communicate what you want to change, what you want to do, and kind of engage people. So that was really surprising for me.
What surprised you about the program?
So I was thinking that I would like to have it in person, but then I realized that actually not completely, because it's kind of good to be home and to be in a really comfortable position and discuss and so on, because so many pod calls I finished it and I was like, just stopped and I was thinking about what happened, and then I have to write, so then I would just get a cup of tea and start writing. And so many insights, so many things happening that if we were all together and then we finished the call and then we were just talking about normal stuff, and then it was good to have this moment to kind of debrief in my head by myself.
My name is Alessa. I'm from Switzerland, live in Zurich, and my job title is Fellow at McKinsey. In my work now, I'm trying to look at food system transformation from many, many different levels. So that can be things like organic fertilizer or alternative protein, or actually building up frameworks on how to measure the true cost of food and how to implement knowledge based on that framework.
So we're nearing the end of this program right now. What do you think's been the most significant change for you?
I think the biggest change for me is that I feel less obliged to do what other people expect from me, because I'm more connected to what I actually want or what I want to build right now. And what's really stayed with me is this saying of, if you say yes to something, you're saying no to other things. So I really think about what I am actually saying yes to, and if that is what is aligned with my values and my vision, and what I actually plan for myself or want to develop. And I don't feel as bad anymore about saying no to things. I realize that if I don't say yes to things that I can say yes to fully, then I won't actually be able to create the change that I wanted. So it's kind of this justification that makes me feel less bad about it, which helps me be more true to myself, I guess. And that's been extremely helpful.
Yeah. And how do you think this might support you to lead or engage with creating change in the food system in the future?
Well, I think that if I have regular check-ins with myself and I'm aware of my needs and also communicate them, then I will probably find a way to work in jobs where I can create more change, because I am aligned and centered. I can actually influence or inspire people more to contribute to the change that we need on the world. So I've shifted from what am I supposed to do or what do other people think I should do to what can I do to find not my best self, because it's more like my self-loving self, I guess, and accepting self, but also balanced and goal or vision oriented self, so that I can actually contribute more. But overall, this shift, I think, can help to find the path that is the right one for you, to feel okay about that, and then hopefully contribute to change.
And so how has it been for you interacting with the other participants in the program?
It's been really, really nice. It was really incredible how you could build a connection. I mean, we saw each other every 2 weeks on Zoom, and we never even saw each other in person. But because we were really open and vulnerable from the very beginning, I feel like it was very connecting and also very insightful to see that, all of us have our insecurities and a lot of them are very similar. So to be able to relate, and then it gives you more perspective on your own insecurities. So it's been very helpful and very It's been just very nice.
And was there anything that surprised you about this program that you weren't expecting?
I don't know if I expected me to make such a big step, but it kind of everything made so much sense. And it was like a puzzle that was, finding its way together. And the way the whole thing is built up, it was just at every point exactly what I needed. And almost, maybe that's what we all need to get there, but it just felt like, how is this possible? Now she's talking about exactly the thing that I need this week. Thank you, Michelle. I knew that these topics are important, but I didn't realize like how much everything is connected and how much it can actually support me.
My name is Mafrida. I was born in Zimbabwe, and I'm currently working at Buehler Group. Very much passionate about driving sustainability in our customers' value chains.
Maybe you could share a little bit just what motivated you to join the program.
I think the desire to change myself and to generate change and impact. This is what motivated me to start the program, because as many of the other coachees, I would assume, we all maybe have a mission in mind. We all want to do something. We all have the energy and the passion to foster change in the world, but we don't know how to start or where to begin or what we need. Like, where do you even start? It's kind of like an overwhelming mountain. And I think I wanted to do this program to have some kind of guidance or some kind of tools or starting point, something that helps me embark on this journey. I would say the first module was my favorite module, because through that we learned about the fundamentals, of being a human, what makes us human, what are the conditions that have led to who we are, how do our experiences and our background influence our personality and therefore the decisions that we make. And I think this is something that hasn't always been my strong suit, being introspective and looking deeper. I think I've always had somehow an inkling and the desire to understand all of those things. And I observed many aspects of my personality and of my life, and always wondered, where do these come from? What is the core or the cause or the source of this? And I think that's why the first module really, I was sitting down once and doing the reflection of one of the exercises. And there were so many moments where I felt a rush through my body, like a warmth, because I had so many moments of discovery. I wrote letters or little notes to myself, actually. And actually, the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know, and the more you want to go deeper. This concept of the joy of missing out has been probably one of my favorite and also the most relatable for me. So applying the joy of missing out to do more things that help me towards a person who's more mindful about what they do, and giving me those moments of reflection that help me become more happy or content and fulfilled in things that I do going forward. Mm-hmm. It goes in line with what you mentioned about, change starting from within. And I think I mentioned this on one of the pod calls, where I was like, you hear all these sayings, you're like, what does that even mean, right? I mean, change comes from within or starts from the self. And at least I've come to understand what that means, I change the world around me, or influence the world around me based on what I'm doing within, how I am feeling, how I am making decisions, how I'm prioritizing, what I'm telling myself, what care I'm taking of myself, and all those things. It really then influences how you go out into the world and show up authentically.
So what was either surprising to you or what's something that you really enjoyed in the program?
I think what was surprising is the fact that there was that element of philosophy, esotericism a little bit, but then a lot of groundedness in science and research, and that balance was really great. Also, I think for the people, the audience that were and the participants of the coaching program. So just for your information, I think that was really, really cool how you managed to balance these things and bring us to this point of vulnerability, but also relatable to the rest of the world and to our existing context. So I was surprised, let's say positively surprised, how you managed to do that. This program exceeded my expectations. Not that my expectations were low, I just did not know what to expect, but it was just such a positive and pleasant surprise, the whole journey and the whole experience. And I walked away with a lot of different tools. And I think I received everything that I could have asked for within this program.
So I am Ariane Wartenberg. I'm a postdoc at UC Berkeley at the moment. And I do research on land use change in agricultural contexts. And I look at how this affects ecosystem health and farmer livelihoods and food production.
What were the main reasons that led you to join the program?
So I think there are two main reasons. One is that I was feeling a little bit stuck in my career, and I'm about halfway through a postdoc, a 2-year postdoc. So I don't have that much time left before I have to figure out my next career step. And so as I've been thinking about that, I thought that a program like this would be kind of helpful. The second reason is that I think this feeling of maybe a lack of confidence in my own voice and value has held me back professionally. And this program was the perfect chance to try and work on that and move forward.
And so what has been the most significant change that you've experienced as a result of the program?
Mainly, I feel more grounded or centered. I think I realized through a lot of the conversations with you, Michelle, and with my cohort, that many of us are actually struggling with similar issues and challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And so realizing that I'm not alone in that way has really strengthened my belief in my own values and my trust in myself. And that's been really huge for me. I think the course has really given me confidence that I can both be true to myself and be a leader. Mm-hmm. And I say that because I feel like in my work context, and maybe even more generally, there's a certain type of personality that seems to move forward or be more prominent in leadership positions. And it's often kind of the louder, more outspoken people. And that just isn't necessarily how I work. But I'm realizing that there's still value to that and that I bring other things to the table. Mm-hmm. And so beyond that, I think maybe I'll be able to listen less to that nagging little critical voice in the back of my head, mm-hmm. and to really listen to my gut more and just trust myself.
And what surprised you about this program? And if nothing surprised you, maybe what was your favorite part?
I think those kind of link to each other. I think I was surprised about how much I learned about myself, not just directly by engaging with the course material, but also by absorbing the experiences of other participants. Mm-hmm. So that was really great. And I was also surprised by how much I was starting to look forward to the group calls because I normally am someone who hates group calls, especially on Zoom. And yet, every 2 weeks I was really looking forward. Yeah, so that was surprising. And I guess, as you can guess, my favorite part was learning with and from the other participants and getting to know a group of really amazing women that were willing to share very openly, their process of going through the course. And that, we're willing to be vulnerable with each other and learn from each other. So yeah, that was really special and really valuable for me.
My name is Grace Crane, and I'm a doctoral researcher at ETH Zurich in the group of plant nutrition. And I focus on understanding how plants grow in human urine-derived waste products, mostly for space missions, but also for Earth and terrestrial applications.
What was something in the program that surprised you?
Something that surprised me was this nonviolent communication, and I just really it was kind of like a light bulb moment of how to approach language and approach conversations really from this essential self and not from this personality or egotistical way. And it really gave me like insights into, okay, this is what I want, but then I realized I also do this to other people. So that means that I need to also, I need to like take a step back and really, reflect on my own and really try to have conversations about how people want to have conversations. And that really surprised me in a good way. Another thing was this last module on the personalities. It really did complete this journey because I had taken personality tests before, you take them in high school or whatever, but I actually haven't changed, which is really interesting. But what was even more interesting was that the two tests that you provided us actually aligned well with each other, and it really explained on the T, like who I am or who I desire to be.
Tell me a little bit about how the interaction with the other participants was for you in the pod calls and the workshops.
I really feel like the community, this group of women are so unique and diverse and bring so many different perspectives. And I really appreciate just listening to them and listening to their perspectives and seeing what they share. I think this is a really beautiful way that we can grow together as humans. And to be honest, it's quite unique because I feel really comfortable in this community, and it's informal, but in a very purposeful way.
So my name is Hélène Gonnet. I come from Switzerland and I work in Bern at the Federal Office for Agriculture.
I'm interested to learn a little bit more about why you chose to join the Be the Change program as opposed to maybe other programs you had considered.
Mm-hmm. So I have not heard of any other programs, and I joined this program because I thought it was unique, and it was very practical because it was online and it was in English, and I took part in 2 summer schools with you and your lectures and online meditation during the pandemic. And yeah, I have never been disappointed by the format. You always find a way to engage with us, to make us active and involved. And you're never short of imagination to create exercises. And almost everything you say, I have this aha effect, and I can relate daily to what you say. And you are a source of inspiration for me, but also, I guess, for many other people.
Oh, thank you. I'm wondering, what impact do you think these changes you've experienced might have on the work you do in the future, or how you engage with creating change in the world?
Recently, I found a new job, and I think the fact that I knew more about myself definitely helped to show up more confident and in a more coherent way. What I've learned is to accept myself, and so I will also try to accept other people how they are, and without trying to change them and change what I don't like about them. And And maybe it goes in contradiction with this workshop, which is about change. But I also think that this mind shift to accept how people are and is also not what we do normally, because normally we try to change other people and it doesn't work. So we lose energy, we feel frustrated instead of just accepting how they are.
And how's the interaction been with the other participants for you?
So in this period where we were locked down, I didn't have a lot of interaction. So I was happy that I could interact with the other participants, and I felt safe in this group. Mm. We were there to help each other and not to judge one another, and I appreciated it. Mm. And without this caring atmosphere, I would not have been able to share so many things and to open up. And I also liked the fact that we had different formats, so the Zoom and the chat and the private chat and the wall where we could share things.
So what was maybe something surprising for you about the program that you didn't expect?
Yeah, I was surprised to realize that it's all about asking the right question. And during the coaching session, you did not give us preheated solutions because, we are all different and face different challenges, but you ask us mainly questions. And so what surprised me was your method and how well it works. Because, for example, you will not tell me you should do this and this, but you would ask me questions. I think it's also a good method because I created this problem and I'm the only one who can solve it, but it's good to have someone outside who is there to ask the right questions. And I also really liked the internal dialogue exercise where we had to think about, ask ourselves a lot of questions.
So my name is Kenza Ben Abderazik. I'm actually a lecturer and now a scientific communicator in the Sustainable Agroecosystem Group in ETH. And I'm from Morocco.
What do you think is the most significant change you've experienced as a part of the group program, the Be the Change program?
I would say that the meetings every 2 weeks was really, and with the different people, was really enabling myself to kind of highlight a bit where I noticed any change, where actually I see any type of progress or no. And being able to share all of this with a very different range of human beings was actually wonderful all along the process, because it wasn't just a bilateral relationship, but it was something that was much more organic and also surprising, because you never know in the breakout room with whom you were going to end up. And it's fascinating then to have your insights shared, but in a very different ways with other people. So I would say that, yes, this diversity and exchange was wonderful inside this program.
Nice.
This program showed in a very positive way, I would say, that to engage in a change, you really need to observe things fully. It emphasizes the challenges that it requires to truly build a change, and knowing that you face those challenges within you, then it creates a lot of empathy towards yourself and the others. It enables you to kind of resonate differently and with more benevolence and with more tolerance. And then the community gets involved wisely and properly, instead of just being harsh on the others and wanting something super uniformed.
So what surprised you about this program, or something you didn't expect, perhaps?
I would say the level of depth of the exchanges that we had with the very different people, and this real impression of like being a cocoon, and a very safe cocoon, while it was digital. so that was fascinating to observe that it's actually possible to do those types of Zoom meetings as well.
My name's Taylor Early. I'm from New Hampshire, which is in the United States. I'm currently based in Utrecht in the Netherlands, and I am a freelance narrative strategist and sustainability researcher in science and culture. I think that the most significant change that I've experienced is a paradigm shift in my mindset. Really actually believing in my soft skills, believing in possessing this new vocabulary and these new methods of being able to approach this internal landscape and how that can actually translate externally, and not just like journaling about it or just talking about it, but really stepping into it. But this mindset shift of, this is my life. I am fully the master of my creed and my destiny, and I have full control over what I do and how I show up. So if I can show up for myself fully, then I can show up for my community better. And to recognize that takes leaning on my community and allowing the things that I don't know, like being able to own that and say, well, yeah, I don't know that, but I do know somebody who does know that. So let me put you in touch with them, and not feeling fraudulent in that. I think that's been the biggest thing. And that's definitely impacted my search for my identity and feeling a bit more stable in that, realizing the capacity for balance and the capacity for neutrality as I approach these really big topics, and being biracial and being like, well, I'm not white or black, I'm both, but like, I don't know where I belong. I don't know who I belong to, but I belong to me, like Maya Angelou said, you know, and really actually trying to make those words mean something to me and like solidify that in my heart. Like, that's been the biggest significant change that this program has allowed me to really tap into, instead of it being this ethereal, like, oh, it would be nice to, you know, feel confident in that. But I feel the beginnings of it. I feel like it's like there. And I now actually feel like I have the tools to access it.
How do you think this is going to help you kind of engage with leading change or being a part of this food system transformation that you talked about in the future?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? I think that this experience, has pretty much solidified this idea of cyclical change and evolutionary change, that even though it was only a couple months or a few weeks that we were together, that these are ideas that I can continue to revisit. And I actually in the past have revisited, but maybe didn't have the community or the support or the agency within myself to be able to engage with in a way that then the next time I revisit it, that I can move a bit further in that cycle. And so I think that will directly impact how I engage with change in a way that kind of keeps in the forefront of my mind that most of the change that we want to do, like you said, and what like we've talked about, is very emotions based and very much internal and then external, and internal again, then external. It's this process of reflecting. And if I'm going to be working with communities or organizations and touching these topics of sustainability, that it's not a linear process at all, and that it's going to be frustrating. It's going to continue to require being very vulnerable and transparent with where we're at. And if I can continue to keep in mind these structures of being able to hold space for people, and not just other people, because I know that I can do that, but for myself in that process, that can be far more sustainable for everybody, especially me. And I now feel really capable of growing into and facilitating that mindset shift in others, and placing emphasis on the value of creating value for yourself in order to be able to valorize others as well.
So there you have it. Some perspectives from participants themselves about how the Be the Change journey was for them. If you are interested to join us, applications are now open for the next round, and you'll find a link in the show notes where you can learn all about the Be the Change program, how to apply, and what you can expect during the 4-month journey together. If you have any questions for me, you'll also find a link where you can send me a voicemail or an email, and I'll get back to you with some answers. Thanks so much for listening to the show.